Welcome, Dr. Kushnir. Welcome back to Deep Into Sleep podcast.
It's good to be back.
So I'm really excited about your new book. I know you have a new book out talking about children's nighttime fear more to really help parents, guide parents to coach their children to sleep better. So I actually got a lot of questions from parents. They often ask me if their children have some difficulties sleep at night and seems very afraid. Is that nightmare or is that the same as nighttime fear? Are they the same thing or what's the difference?
It's actually first of all, it's a very common and a good question. These are two different entities, and sometimes, of course, they go along, but nightmares is a phenomena that happens while we are asleep, okay? And it can be many children suffer from that, okay? But very few people suffer it many times during a month or during a week also, okay? And nighttime fears is a phenomena that can happen while going to sleep or while waking in the middle of the night from that, okay? But these are fears that happens while we are awake, okay? And we are aware. Okay, but they can have a really significant negative impact on sleep. First of all, it can, there's something that's called sleep onset latency. Okay, it can prolong the time that it takes us to fall asleep. Sometimes children, because they're afraid, can take up to 2 or even 3 hours to fall asleep instead of, let's say, 15 or 20 minutes. That's the regular time. And they can wake up multiple times during the night. And most of the time, they will have difficulty falling asleep during the bedtime and during wake-up time without their parents. And so we can see that the parents' sleep is also very negatively impacted, sorry. Okay?
Wow, yeah. Mm-hmm. Sounds like quite a big problem if that can keep the child, lingering and cannot fall asleep for that long. Children possibly going to lose a lot of sleep.
It is quite a big problem for many kids, okay? Although there are children that, they suffer for a month, 2 months, and then it goes away, okay? But there are children who takes it, I'm kidding, right, to the next level. And it's something that can happen for months or years, but it actually depends many times on the parents' response, okay? Because if the parents find a solution where the child can sleep next to them or they can sleep next to the child, even if it helps on a nightly basis, it actually prolongs and perpetuates the problem because the child can't learn and he won't learn how to cope and that he can cope alone. And then the fears, they're quite consistent.
Oh, wow. So I think this is possibly important for parents to understand. A lot of parents want help reduce the suffering of their children. So they offer to co-sleep with the child or help out a lot. But based on what you talk about, that may actually make it worse for the children to learn how to deal with it themselves.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yes. And we actually, not only nighttime fears, we can see that in other phobias and anxieties in children where parents take a protective role from a very good reason from their side of view, but they don't understand that for the long run, it's a problem, okay? So it's like our basic instinct to protect our child, right? We don't want to see him suffering. Sometimes we have, as parents, our own fears, but we actually, we don't have a plan, okay? And we don't have a plan and our behavior causes the problem to perpetuate.
Wow. Yeah. So I could imagine for parents, what they can do, right? They can only think about, oh, I'm going to help my child as much as I can. I'm gonna, if they need company, they need comfort, I'm there for them. So they possibly can feel more secure, but I guess it's not.
Exactly. I mean, This is exactly the reason we wrote the book. The first book we wrote, and it was designed and aimed for specifically for the child, and actually for a communication way for the parent to communicate with the child how to solve or cope with the problem. But then we thought that we want to make a comprehensive guide which will be specific for the parents, with many examples, which can show him or them the way on how to cope, and I hope we've done a good job. Okay, because what we want to do after, of course, the learning phase, we want to build, exactly as other exposures in CBT, we want to build a gradual plan where we actually take the parents out in a very gradual way, and thus help the child to cope alone in small doses. Okay, and for the long run, this is exactly what can bring confidence and enhance the self-esteem of the child. And of course, and the understanding of the parent that his child can cope.
Wow. So it's not just to educate the child. We also have to coach and educate the parents. What's the best way to help their children?
Many times, and of course, this is a key point in CBT, we, the parents, behave in a way that manifests our thinking, right? So if we are very afraid, or if we think that we are going to cause damage to the child if we won't stay next to him or her, of course, all night long, then I will stay next to them. But I need to zoom out and understand that actually it's a problem.
I know
and
that's
I'm not talking about a specific night. I'm talking about something that happens for many nights.
Oh, right. So there's gonna be dependence developed through that. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I want to break down a little bit. I know sometimes for children, they are afraid of falling asleep because they worry about monsters. They are afraid of darkness. So I often hear parents would say, oh, monsters, let me help you check the room. See, there's no monsters, you're fine. But I'm wondering, is that helpful or actually it's more harmful?
This is exactly the point. Again, this is called safety behavior, okay? Because I, the parent, I go and I check, I explore the room, and I show the child, listen, there was that's between the lines. There was a reason for me to check, right? There is a problem, but I checked it and everything is fine. But I do it every night, over and over again. And usually it doesn't stop there, because the demanding from the fear gets larger and larger. Now you have to check again, okay? Now you have to check all the house. Now you have to check outside the window. And I can go on and on. It never ends. And I want to put a stop as a parent for that, but in a way that will be in the favor of the child, of course. Very gradually, with understanding why we're doing that, with specific tools that aim to do that.
Oh, wow, great. So is there, I'm sure you have a lot of detailed information to teach parents how to handle that. Is that possible for you to share like one small tip or direction parents can think about, like what they should do that is the right direction?
Actually, there are many things, okay? And usually when we look about, when we talk about, a CBT program, first of all, there's a lot of information to understand. For me as a parent, to understand what's happening with me, the parent, what is happening to the child in the phenomena of nighttime fears and sleep problems, okay? And then we go specifically to the understanding, why does it perpetuate? And we talk about things that are related to the child and things that are related to the parent, okay? And the communication between them. And then we talk about understanding why anxiety in general perpetuates and the mechanisms that are behind fears. And then we talk about the specific coping tools that we have in CBT, and we give examples on how to use that with the child, and how to delegate and how to talk to them about that. And we also have specific examples of programs for several families that we summarized. How does it look like? And actually, at the end, there's a flow chart and all kinds of tools to help the process.
Oh, cool. So sounds like there are step-by-step guidance. There are also case studies so people can
Yes.
really understand it even better from reading other families' experience.
And actually, our goal is because many people, they do not have the means to go and get a treatment. Okay, even maybe it's from a financial reason, maybe because they live far away. And we try to build a tool that can help many parents in a very cost-effective way to solve this very highly this problem. You're gonna edit it later, right?
Yeah.
Great. The prevalence is very high. That's what I wanted to say. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so I'm curious how high is the prevalence of nighttime fear?
it's actually very high. When we talk about nighttime fears, actually between the ages of 4 and 12, we have something like 80% of children who suffer from nighttime fears. But most of them, it's like a regular developmental process. But some of them, I can't say a specific number, but I think it's one of the highest rated regarding prevalence of childhood problems. They really suffer significantly. Okay,
Right.
and the parents, sorry, suffer significantly.
Oh, definitely. When our child suffers, right, the parents won't be out of that for sure, especially for
Yeah,
sleep-related problem.
no, it's really serious because if we don't sleep well, and there's many studies about that, we're losing work, we're tired, we're less productive at work. It changes the communication with the child. We're getting angry at him or her. It can actually, I had parents coming to me that they were on the verge of divorcing because of this cute, quote unquote, problem.
Wow.
Because they saw it differently, and they were, they fought all the time on how we should handle the problem.
Right.
So
Wow. All these hidden like consequences to our lives.
yes, and the problem is it comes every night. You can't run away from it.
Right. And how to handle it, right? Without the correct evidence-based professional guidance, people just do whatever self-help way, which sounds like could make things much worse.
And actually, I have to tell you that I even see parents with their teens coming with this problem. And when I take the history, they tell me, yeah, it's from the age of 4 or 5, and we're doing the same. And I even have had clients that the child was around 20 years old, sleeping with his parents.
Wow. I'm wondering some of those things possibly naturally children could grow out of that, but because parents trying to help them so much, and then sometimes it's family dynamic and parents over protection may just make the problem stay consistent and longer.
Definitely yes. Definitely yes. When we treat babies, there's a something which is called trained criers.
Oh,
This
yeah.
refers to babies, when they make a sound or something, they wake up in a very natural way. And if the parent is very alert and he or she immediately runs to them and try to, comfort them, then they learn that, and then they cry if they don't get what they are used to get.
Wow,
So
right.
we the parents actually can create or problems.
Yes, I know in parenting, in education, right? A lot of time we know parents' reaction can shape children's certain problematic behaviors. I think for sleep, we can look at this from the same angle, sounds like. So what we just talked about is when children have difficulties falling asleep, which is part of the nighttime fear. There's also two other things I think after children fall asleep. Some of them gonna start having night terrors, I think. So sleep terrors. They start screaming out of sleep and sounds really horrible. Parents sometimes try to wake them up, but when they wake up, they may not remember anything. And
Yes.
so I'm wondering whether your book covers anything about sleep terrors.
No, the book doesn't cover sleep terrors because again, it's a very different entity. Okay, we can talk about it, of course, gladly if you want. Okay, sleep terrors is something that it's very alarming for the parents, and it's one of the group of parasomnias. Okay, but the child usually doesn't remember anything. Okay, usually children grow up out of it, but there are several factors that can make the problem worse. Okay, one of them is parental behavior again. Okay, and what the parents do. Many parents try because they think that the child is traumatized or something, something is crazy happening. They feel the urge to wake him up, or they do really all kind of things, and they actually they don't help it. Okay, they only perpetuate it. Okay, and there are other related factors. One of them is a sleep disorder breathing that can make the problem worse. Okay, so something when we take medical history we need to relate to. If the child sleeps in a different environment, okay, or if he doesn't have specific times when he goes to sleep, and it's one time, it's 9 o'clock, one time it's 8 o'clock, and it can also make the problem worse. If the child is dependent on his parents, it can also make the problem worse. Okay, if there is an anxiety disorder, it can also make the problem worse. Okay, so when we have an assessment, and by the way, we usually find a family history with some kind of parasomnia. Okay, so when we take medical history or we have a clinical intake, we need to address all of these issues, because if we find several of them, we can actually help the child and the family reduce significantly the problem. Okay, there even one, if the problem persists and it's happening usually at the same time, and there is one or two research about that, studies, sorry, we can go to the child, like gently, very gently move them around, something like 15 minutes before the night terror, okay, or something in the field, okay. Do it for about 10 days or 2 weeks, and then gradually reducing this behavior. And sometimes it can really improve the picture.
I see. Okay. I think this is very helpful for parents to understand. Sounds like your book can help parents a lot to help address children's fear at night when they are awake. So they possibly can soothe themselves, parents know how to deal with it. But once they fall asleep, if there's anything happen that's possibly more kind of sleep disorder, and sounds like there's still some kind of different treatments, and parents, if concerned about that, they can go to sleep doctors, sleep specialists to find more treatment for that.
Actually, what's called the differential diagnosis is very important, because many times we think that we see a manifestation of something which looks quite the same, but it's actually a very different problem which requires a very different treatment or strategy. Okay, so it's very, very important. Another thing that I wanted to share about nighttime fears and in general for sleep problems is many times when we solve the going to bed problems, okay, for example, if the child is dependent on his parent and we resolve that, it can really or significantly reduce nighttime wakings, okay? Because we see that statistically, children that are dependent on their parents going to sleep, they will wake up more times during the night, and they will need the same strategy or the same objects, quote unquote, that they needed in order to fall asleep when they went to bed.
Wow, that's so important to know. Parents think they are helping, but they may become the object to help soothe children into sleep, and then the problem can actually increase, the frequency can increase.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I remember like when we treat children's sleep problems, a lot of time we have to educate parents. We want to teach children how to get to sleep on their own, right? And then that's definitely requires some effort from the parents' part to put down their safety behaviors, their urge to help all the time. But then the question a lot of parents always ask is, well, if I'm not there to help my child every time they need me at night, then will that cause some trauma to their psychological well-being? Parents feel like if I'm not there when they are crying or when they're afraid, then I'm not doing a good job and that's going to hurt them mentally. Is that true?
Yes, it's a very common question. And again, I want to differentiate between something that happens once in a while, okay? And then there's nothing special that we need to do. But I'm dealing with a situation where the child and his parents, and actually most of the family, really suffer on a daily basis. This is itself can be some kind of a trauma. I'm not talking about the trauma, yes, but it's very, very difficult, okay? But again, this line of thought is what keeps parents doing the same behavior that does not help them. And actually, we need to ask ourselves a very brave question. Did what we do till now, what we're doing till now, helped us? Or, you know, what Einstein said, right? That insanity, quote unquote, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? That's not mine, that's Einstein's, okay? And it's exactly what's happening here, because we behave again and again and again in the same way, and we expect, you know, in some miraculous way that it will resolve. And what's sometimes absurd, that we think that if we even try to do something else, then we're going to cause harm. But actually we have to do something else. Otherwise, we're in a really big problem.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I like that. Hopefully, Einstein's this quote can really ring a bell to a lot of parents. Yeah. So if parents are interested in your book, want to learn more how they can help their children, where can they find your book?
They just go online to Amazon, okay, and they can find the original book, Benny Goes to Bed by Himself, and our new book, The Parental Guidance, okay, it's, Parents and Children Beating Nighttime Fears, which I wrote with my twin brother, okay. They can find it on Amazon.
Great. I will put the link of the book to our show notes. Yeah. So is this book designed for parents of children at certain age group?
I think we can talk about, let's say, between the age of 4 and 8 or even 9, okay? I'm talking about the children's book, okay? But actually, the parents' book, I think it's for even a larger age range, even for older children, because all the CBT techniques are designed. We have many techniques there that not all of them are suitable for very young children, okay? But many of them are going to be suitable for even much older children at 8, 9, 10, and 11, and even 12, because most of the time when we see sleep issues with fears, most of the time parents will be involved, okay? And we have to work with the parents, or we have to guide them in order to solve the problem.
Great, good to know. Yeah, sounds like if any of our audience are parents who have these kind of challenges, no matter how young or how old the child is, they possibly can benefit from some of the strategies in the book.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah. So at the end of the show, is there any final wisdom you want to share with our audience if they are facing these kind of challenges?
I want to say that sometimes, you know, we really have to ask ourselves again what I said before, that really brave and put things on the table and ask ourselves as parents, am I giving my child the best service in doing that? Okay, although you know, he sleeps every night, and although we have some peace and quiet for several hours, is it the right direction for him? As a parent, need to sometimes direct my child to a situation when he has some difficulties, some fears, but actually from this place, he will grow, learn, and will learn about his abilities to cope with various difficulties, not only this one. And actually, all parental guidance in this field, this is like the key point.
Yes.
And sometimes it's much easier than we thought it would be.
Great, great. Yeah, this is wonderful information for parents to know. And especially good intention does not always lead to helpful behaviors. And with some professional guidance, right? Yeah, with some professional guidance, like what the parents can get from your book, possibly more effective and really connect a good intention with effective behaviors.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Kushnir, for sharing with us about your new book and your previous book. I also read that. It's very fun. I can imagine children would love that too.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate in your wonderful show.
Yeah, hopefully we will get you back if in the future you have more books and more new updates to share with us.
You're the first one that I will share with.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our videos or listening to our podcast. If you like our show, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share it. If you have any questions or feedback, we would always love to hear from you. You can either email us or leave feedback on our website at mindbodygarden.com or directly under the YouTube video channel. Thank you very much for your company today, and hopefully to hear from you or have you with us next time.